more Elon Musk and Twitter, and the EU tries to dictate charging standards. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by NordVPN. Get secure and private access to the internet with a special deal at nordvpn.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the panel wraps up the discussion of the current state of the Elon Musk Twitter saga and try to decide whether this is the end or if it's just one more chapter in the ongoing story. Then we turn our attention to the EU's decision to require USB-C charging on electronics. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Hey, Brittany just came back, and she's been listening to this. Britt, do you have any thoughts before we wrap this topic? I don't know if you've been able to follow it or not.
I mean, there are all so many conspiracy theories, but it seemed like he's been wanting out since he said he was going to. So I don't know. I honestly didn't hear the new news today, except this is so sad. Through my Carrot Weather app. Like that's how I hear news sometimes. And I was like, oh, he's
go to the source.
He wants to buy it again, huh?
How does that work? Today's high is 72, and Elon Musk has agreed to 54.
Very much like it, yes. Like there will occasionally be headlines in it, like there was some send off for Coolio, and yeah, it was something like, apparently, yeah, it was. I didn't take a picture of it, but I was like, oh, that's happening again, huh? And then I ran off to my appointment.
Jim is downloading the Carrot Weather app right now so he can see this.
It's way better source of news than reading real headlines, let me assure you.
Oh, man.
Not nearly as upsetting.
Okay, so let's move on to another one because I don't want to, we're running short already, but this was another one very timely, and I'm throwing it in the chat room, that the EU will now be requiring, I think it's in 2 years, that devices, including the iPhone, switch to USB-C.
Finally.
What a working dumpster fire.
So Chuck, go
Jeff,
back.
What do you really think?
Was it? So Chuck, go back. What is it they're requiring?
They're going to require, I mean, there are a number of specific requirements, Mark, or guidelines, but the bottom line is, for the purposes of this discussion, that the iPhone, in order to be sold in the EU, will have to be USB-C.
But the key is
about anything, not just the iPhone.
Yeah, not just iPhone, but again, for the purposes of this discussion,
it's iPhone.
David,
but the key is here by the end of 2024. That means Apple can come out with the iPhone 15 and still have this Lightning connector and not switch it until 2025. So who knows what Apple's going to do with this? But I mean, I think they need to. I think the writing's on the wall. They got to do it. I think it's just crazy that Apple's gone this long with it. I mean, yeah, it was a great connector of its time, but it's time to move on. All the iPads now pretty much have all USB-C. Why can't the iPhones?
Because it's not going to get USB-C ever.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's.
I think it's more likely that the year that Apple in the EU has to switch to USB-C for the iPhone is the year they announce the iPhone as a wireless charging device, and the puck that Apple sells that you can put it on will have a USB-C cable on that.
I think that's what it looked like a few years ago. And I think the wireless sucks. And I don't mean it's convenient, but it is incredibly energy efficient. And it's really hard to sell their environmentalist stance when the only way you can charge it is so incredibly inefficient.
Plus, there's issues of bricking and recovering a phone still, because they were supposed to come.
There would be an alternate.
Well, it was they mentioned it at one point, saying they were going to come out with almost like a internet recovery for the iOS, and that never really happened. Just like a Mac could have an internet recovery
Right.
without
But you
a
can put a
cable.
smart connector on the iPhone, just like we have on the iPad. Although make it a smart connector that can be more useful than it is on the iPad.
But
I don't know if
definitely my
that's
phone
fast
never hit a
enough.
full charge again.
I don't know if that's fast enough for that kind of stuff either. Because
Well, not today, but that doesn't mean in 2 years they won't have something that's fast enough and versatile enough. That's just like a little magnetic connector.
Warren, you just need to have courage.
to get rid of the port. I mean, I'd be happy with no port or the USB-C port at this point. The Lightning and USB-C is not working for me anymore because, again, when I'm traveling with a MacBook, an iPad mini, and a phone, I have all USB-C cords, and I have to fish out. And the watch is not that much better, to be honest with you. So when my wife and I travel, we have USB-C cables, we have Lightning, and we have a watch charger, and we have all these cables, and it's a mess and it's stupid. So I'm good for all wireless or one cable at this point.
But only if it was.
So you only charge one thing at a time?
No, of course not. So I have.
Well, so you're going to need multiple wires anyway. So the question is, are you going to bring two USB-Cs or are you going to bring a USB-C and a Lightning?
You know what? If I happen to have one cable that did all of them, I'd be much happier than if I didn't.
That's not realistic.
It matters. I can't speak for other internet or other addictions, but Pokemon Go users will en masse leave to another platform because wireless cannot keep up. Also, your phone overheats when you use wireless and play Pokemon Go. It's not an option.
I agree with you, Brittany. But who knows what Apple will do? I would have said the same thing about the headphone
break
jack.
The heat barrier laws, break
physics.
They can't change. Yeah, they can't change physics. That's why we have no AirPad.
So I want to get the chat room in here because some of these guys are just great. Let's see. Where do we go here? So Cletus points out that he has a USB-C charger to Lightning from Apple. Okay, which is true. So, why? Mike says 30 pin. My car manufacturer tried to sell me a $90 30 pin connector to connect in the glove box. Mm-hmm. Not even CarPlay back then.
Yeah, we all had that.
Yeah, yep. Brett says, I'm sure that Apple has learned enough about recovering portless devices after all the years of selling the Apple Watch. And there's probably some truth to that. Mike also said he's with Warren, to which I said, this is the first time anybody has ever said that. And the headphone Apple is Lightning. Will they charge that?
Yeah.
Will they change that? Excuse me.
This is Lightning. The AirPods are Lightning.
Yeah.
This mouse is Lightning.
Yeah.
This keyboard is Lightning.
Trackpad, Lightning. Yeah. Everything's Lightning.
One thing that I haven't seen addressed that I just thought of in our earlier part of the discussion, because Dave was saying, they could do the 15 and they wouldn't have to do the 16. But Apple likes to sell, they're still selling iPhone 12s. Maybe they need to switch right away because are they still going to be allowed to sell iPhone 14s in, 2025? Or are they going to have to, if they can only sell USB-C, that doesn't, does the law say only devices introduced in 2025 or just you can't?
A certain day, possibly.
Or you can't sell devices.
No.
Whenever they were invented.
Think about the electronics store. I mean,
well, they've given them 2 years' notice. I think they're going to say you can't sell old iPhones anymore.
Yeah. Brittany, you're raising your finger.
Of note is it says by 2026, this includes headsets, headphones, sat navs, e-readers, mice, keyboards.
Yeah, anything.
So, and frankly, when these latest Magic mice and keyboards came out, which feels like a long time now, I heard they were Lightning. I was like, I'm sorry, they're what now? That was a dated choice.
I have never seen a Lightning to USB-C adapter.
This is still.
What are you talking about? There's tons of them.
Oh, yeah.
Apple ships
they come with the phones now.
Yeah, Apple ships that with their phone.
No, I'm talking about if I want to get a USB C plug to plug, like, so if I have a USB-C cable and get a tip that had a lightning tip to plug in there, so I could plug in like my phone and stuff like that. They have things like that for USB that go to the micro USB. I see a whole bunch of those
They
tips.
have micro USB because they were required by the EU to offer that.
Right. So, I mean, if there's this transition, there should be, these kind of like things where you could because we're going to have all these lightning cables sitting around too, right? That are going to eventually be useless.
And I'm still going to be using them for a long time.
We'll have them for our peripherals that still
people
have
will.
them.
I mean, we won't. Half of us on
yes, I will.
Panel will. I mean, Dave and
I'm not going to throw away these these headphones in 2026. I'll probably still be using them in 2032.
But if you are I mean, there's nothing. It's not like this law is going to come down and stop anything from working.
Of course not.
It's just what
But to your point, Jim, if you have them that long, then if lightning cables go away in 2 years and you have that in 10 years, you're going to need more lightning cables.
No, he can borrow yours.
I'm sure I'll still be able to buy,
because I'm not going to have anything that's US lightning anymore.
I'm not worried I won't be able to buy a lightning cable. I think it's really a shame that this is happening as a law.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that it is.
I think that it's also the
changed. It's the right choice, and they should have already done it.
Why? You make it sound like it's some ethical.
So I don't have to carry two plugs around with me.
That should be something the government gets involved in.
No, it shouldn't be, and that's what I'm saying. The government would have had to get involved if Apple had already changed it to USB-C. The law is the wrong place to do it, and it's Apple's fault.
Why aren't you buying Android phones?
Because I want a phone that works.
Yeah,
they're Android phones with micro
Android
USB.
phones.
Android
phones
beautiful.
have USB-C.
That's good.
You make it sound like that's the most important thing. You should buy a phone with USB-C.
It's not the most important thing, but it's a good choice that my iPhone should have.
See, okay, so here's Webb, go.
What is the, aside from the transition, I got a phone that has a lightning connector. Aside from that, what's the disadvantage of going to USB-C on the portable devices? Other than we have all these existing devices that we're going to have to deal with. I see a dongle coming, folks, but what's the disadvantage of putting USB-C on an iPhone or
I don't. I think it's fine. I think it'd be good. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it should be a law.
I don't disagree with you.
For one thing, maybe something better will come along, but this is it. We have USB-C forever now. We can never have anything better than USB-C ever.
I mean that to me, Jim, is the problem.
I think they have a thing for when it's time to update. It does not mean it will be adequate. The problem is people will be disincentivized to innovate in the interim because they're going to have to pass laws to get it.
This is the end of it. USB-C is the end. We'll still be using it in 100 years.
Yeah, Jim, I believe you're correct. Brittany, you are correct that there's a thing in the EU law.
It's not easy though.
Yeah, so the way it works, if it were to actually work, would be a company comes up with a new connector, and then the EU votes on that and decides if that's going to be the new standard, and then everyone has to adopt that. So the problem is, why would you invest the money in coming up with this new technology when it's a complete gamble and the odds are against you? So no one's going to switch from USB-C because there's at that point no value in it for them to even try.
Hey, Webb, could we send you to Brussels to also search for intelligent life?
Yes.
I think. I want to know
GoFundMe page is going up later. So
yeah.
When are we going to stop seeing the USB-A plugs everywhere that charge really slowly? Like you buy new furniture right now and it still has USB-A built into it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe the EU should pass a law.
Because it's a $3,000 couch, and they're not going to that's the thing. right. Just
The
like
couch manufacturers are going to force the EU to pass a law. It's all because of those damn couch manufacturers.
Well, it's not just a couch; it's the cars that are all built with the USB.
Every hotel room forever.
I mean, they're just all over the place, right? So, and then expensive things. So, I mean,
they started exploding right as soon as it looked obsolete.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing.
Yeah. So on this, I agree with Jim. I think the regulatory bodies in the EU are a little bit behind the time. And I think would only be a natural course of events before Apple realized, oh, we have, there's way much higher volume for all these other USB-C components. Let's switch to that instead of having our own Lightning. And I think, naturally they would have migrated or to USB-D, speculating on whatever the successor is. But, I think that ultimately, companies should be in charge of what their own evolution is, and consumers are smart enough to figure out if they want to buy it or not. I think this is solving a problem that just doesn't exist. But
what USB-C is trying to do is trying to change the technology of the standard with the same shape cable. And that's what they're
that's fine. That's fine. I think Apple, as others have pointed out, Apple's on that way, with Thunderbolt, which has the same, as USB-C and USB-C and all the confusion about interoperability.
What do you mean Apple's
issues.
on that way? That's not an Apple problem.
No, and right.
Well, no. I'm saying
I'll just say the new version of USB standards,
and Jeff made that point.
It's still going to be a USB-C shaped cable. So I mean, the data transfer technologies, I guess, could continue on the USB-C shape for a bit. I don't know how long, but
I wonder, when EU says USB-C, what does that mean? What
the shape of the cable?
That's all they specified? The law specifies mechanical specification, or
it's a USB-C cable shape that will charge that device is all I care about.
You know that?
I mean, but wouldn't that
okay? Again, he's speculating, but that's what we do.
That's the Warren.
I mean, what else would it do? I mean, what else?
Objection! Speculating.
I mean, I don't think they care about data. They're not going to say it needs.
But again, that's the problem. You have Thunderbolt or USB-C.
One at a time, guys. One at a time. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by NordVPN. Get secure and private access to the internet with NordVPN. Are you missing out on your favorite show because it's not available in your region? Trying to keep your private time private? Let me introduce you to NordVPN. If you're bored with US Netflix, why not take it for a spin in the UK? Using NordVPN and a click of a button, you can do just that. No need to travel to Japan for your favorite anime when NordVPN brings it right to you. With over 5,000 server options, no show is out of your reach. Using my link, nordvpn.com/MacVoices, you can receive a huge discount on a 2-year plan plus 4 months free. We all love to binge, but privacy is a big deal too. NordVPN keeps your information encrypted, so you never have to worry about your IP or location getting out. Don't forget, there is literally no risk to you with their 30-day money-back guarantee. Give it a try, and if you like it, great. If you don't, they'll issue a refund and you can pretend the entire situation never even happened. Check it out at nordvpn.com/MacVoices to get your subscription started today. That's nordvpn.com/MacVoices. Thanks to NordVPN for their support of Mac Voices. Okay, so Mark, I agree with you. It's the shape of the connector, and
I'm piling on. I'm agreeing with Jim, so I'll just shut up and give it back to Jim.
The shape of the connector is not enough for USB-C. USB-C does a handshake, even for charging. They're smarts. Devices have to, handshake to, say this is how much power I want and will take. It's not just a wire.
But Lightning does the same
standard. Thing. Right. And remember when USB-C first
came out? Right, but USB-A
out?
Doesn't, for example.
Remember when USB-C first came out and there was cables that weren't working? and then they
In
went
fact,
through
I
that
don't
whole-
think Lightning does do that well, because you can plug the other end into USB-A and it works just fine. And USB-A doesn't do that. So charging for Lightning is just, it is just a wire. But USB-C, it's not just a wire. The devices have electronic handshaking. So that's got to be part, there's so many different, there's all these different flavors, USB-C, and then you can throw, they're adding new ones, and you can throw Thunderbolt on there too. So it's, it's kind of a weird thing to hang us, and they're probably going to screw it up even worse.
I want to give Jeff the last word because of the comments he's been throwing in our private chat, because I think he's right there. Jeff?
Oh, okay. So USB-C cables are a hot mess. I mean, how does the average person figure out which cable they need to charge their phone at the rate that they expect it to? How do they figure out which cable lets them do data if they need to do data? And does it transmit data at the speed that they want? And I can go on, but I'll just stop
I can answer that. I can answer that.
I got something.
They buy the cheapest cable they see on Amazon, and it doesn't work, and then they get an education.
Or they get another one. And the answer to that too is in a pinch, I've charged a 14-inch MacBook Pro with probably something from Amazon that would, barely charge a phone. And it works. I mean, if you leave it there for a day,
a long time.
Yeah, which sometimes is fine, right? So I mean, that's also the beauty of it too, where any USB cable with power will charge
eventually.
Sure, I'm not saying,
and that's
the
all most people
same
care
with my
about.
Tesla too, right? And we talk about this with the Tesla group all the time. Is you could charge your Tesla with a 115 plug that you have in your house. It will take 2.5 days, but you could do it, and people do because it's there and they don't have to get wiring, and that's fine with them. They So again, if I'm traveling,
pandemic, who went anywhere every 2.5 days?
If I go to a hotel and I have my MacBook Pro, and I forgot my plug for it, but I have a cable for my USB-C iPhone 2023, I could plug that into my laptop, go away, for the day, come back to a charged laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we're out of time, guys. But I want to first of all, I want to thank the chat room. I just completely lost track of it. I mean, they were blaming Red Roof Inns for their alarm clocks and all kind of very strange comments. So I don't know. But Mike,
I think that was my fault.
Yeah. Well, Mike brings up though one good point, and there's one to rule them all: Thunderbolt 4. And
you can say Thunderbolt 4 or USB-C 4, and they mean the same thing.
Right.
Until next year when it's Thunderbolt 5.
Exactly.
No, but that was the only real thing 4 did was make them universal. That's all.
And you can spend $159 for
I was going to say, those cables are expensive.
Yeah. I just saw it. I was just at the Apple
because they do all the things.
Yeah.
But at least, I mean, at some point, how many of us haven't spent more money than we should for something because it just works?
Yeah.
Well, nobody in this audience, but
I bought expensive cables that break just as fast as cheap ones. I mean, it's a.
Well, I'm not talking about breaking war. I'm talking about function. That how you treat them is another matter.
Yeah.
Let's go around who won?
Well, I was just going to say that in some cases it's impossible to tell. Like, what is this cable? There's no way to find out. You can't even buy a box and plug it in and have it tell you. So you kind of have to buy it with and then keep track of it yourself. Oh, this is the cable that I can use for a hard drive.
Which is why you
use it. This is
for
how
an
normal
average customer.
You use it, it doesn't work. You throw it out and use a different one.
No, it might work, but it's actually you're only getting 20% of the data throughput. And are you going to measure that?
Then it's working. That's working.
That's working.
Yeah.
That's working.
That is not working. If you're sitting here doing something,
working.
You ask somebody why is it so slow, they'll say, "Well, you got this kind of cable," and then you'll go and get something else. Yeah, I mean that's how it's going to work. But I mean, exactly. That's my point about charging slow. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but it's better than not happening like that. And the same.
I'm feeling like we're experiencing USB-C Stockholm syndrome right now.
Yeah.
Because I still see USB-C as a straight up dumpster fire.
Yeah, I agree.
mean, I
Compared
love
to what though? What's I mean,
except for all the other things that came before it.
yeah. Well, what
So
came
why
first?
does
How's
the
it been?
EU pass a law that's saying standard bodies shouldn't serve up, dumpster fires of conflicting, confusing technologies?
I mean, there's got to be one.
I'm okay with that law.
Jeff, you're saying there has to be like one company with one standard that has
No,
this
that's
magical
not what I'm
cable that
saying at
works and
all.
does everything, and it's
That
not
is
gonna-
Saying he
absolutely
wants
not what I'm
lightning
saying.
forever.
But what I'm saying is that the way the USB-C spec has been created is it's a jumbled, confusing mess, and even though we have the new USB-C identification standard thing, it's not going to stop USB-C from being a confusing, jumbled mess.
And I mean, I see there are two places where we place the blame here. We place the blame on the manufacturers of the USB-C cables who did not adequately label them or find some way to designate what each one did. At least that would have made it easier. And then blame the legislative bodies who are adopting these kind of things who do not understand the issues. And they don't understand what kind of how they stifle innovation, how they lock you into a standard. And if it was a good standard, it would be fine. But it's not a good standard right now.
There's no standard that's good enough long enough. It's like I will never get an implant in my head. Why? Technology changes. That's why.
That's a good point, Brett. That's a real good point.
If you need an implant, you have to get it with the technology that's available now.
I mean the recreational kind that Elon Musk has, just to bring it all around. The voluntary variety. The research one I would do in a heartbeat. Let's be clear.
I've not heard about.
Let's not go there. Let's go around the table. Let folks know where they can find you, and we're going to get out of here. We can continue this in After Dark if we want to. So first up, and I'm going to reverse it and take Brittany first. Britt, thank you for your points of argument. Where can folks find you?
Thanks for having me, Chuck. You can find me on YouTube with ADD Liberator. I say Ad Liberator, but that's how you spell it. And also that's where you can find me on Twitter for all of those things. I've been continuing my series on iOS 16 updates.
And you know what? I want to put a plug in for Brittany because I didn't realize the volume of videos she's been putting out. It is really worth your time to go and check out that channel.
Aww.
So
thank you.
Well, I'm not being nice, Brittany. I'm serious. I mean, they're good. They're good, high quality videos. They make they educate you. Very well done. Very well done.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Warren Sklar, are you well done?
I do not put out lots of videos, as you might know. I am well done. Thanks for having me. It was definitely interesting conversations, and you can find me Facebook group here and in touch with iOS.
Great. Safe trip to London for the football game.
Thank you.
Mark Fuccio, thank you for helping educate us about a number of different things tonight. This has been an interesting conversation. What's the best way for folks to reach out and connect with you?
Oh, I'm in the USB dumpster fire adjacent to the Apple campus in Cupertino.
Once we put the fire out, where else might people reach you?
Oh, on the Twitter property at Mark Fuccio, at MarkFuccio, or via LinkedIn.
Great, thank you. Webb Bixby, you didn't find any intelligent life in DC. How do you feel about the intelligent life in this panel?
I'm sorry, can't hear you. Say that again. What? I'm sorry, you're breaking up on me. So,
all right, forget it. Where can we find you?
Facebook, Webb Bixby, Web with 1B. I never explained how I got Web with 1B, but Webb Bixby at Facebook or at Twitter too. That's it.
Great, thank you, Webb.
Aren't there two B's?
Not for, well, there's one for Webb, one for Bixby, so there's two B's right there. But
just checking.
And my real name's not Webster, so
okay, we're not going there. Jim Ray, before you go and plug your headphones into Lightning to charge them, where can folks find you?
You cannot connect with me unless you have the exact correct USB-C cable.
Which one is it?
So, Jim,
I will look
you
up
must be
specs.
pretty lonely. You must be pretty lonely.
I will not tell you, but if you do have it, then you can reach me at provue.com, PROVUE. And also, assuming the sale to Elon hasn't come through, you can reach me on Twitter at ProVueJim. If the sale does come through, then maybe not.
Thank you, Jim. Jeff Gamet, the chief fire person in charge of the dumpster fire. Where can folks find you?
Well, when I'm not pouring more fuel into that dumpster, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. I'm Jay Gamet, all those places. And here most Tuesdays, hanging out with this amazing crew. And then Thursdays on the Big Show, Thursday evenings, well, most of them with Dave and Warren on In Touch with iOS. And then the Big Show on Fridays, and then the Context Machine, because Brian Chaffin and I teamed up again.
Great.
I think
Thank
that's
you,
all
Jeff.
the places.
That'll get them started for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google me.
Last but not least, he talked way too much tonight. David Ginsburg.
Yeah, well, I don't have any expertise in that for those topics, but I did enjoy listening and you engaging in those topics. But I got in at the end here. So you can find me.
Glad you did, David. Glad you did.
You can find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com, YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. On the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network, as well as Twitter at DaveG65 and In Touch with iOS. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Folks, this is Mac Voices Live. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us, just like all the folks did in our chat room tonight at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. And I want to say thanks to everyone. Really, they were quiet through the first part of the discussion, but boy, they really ramped up in the end. And I love to see it. Right now, there's a debate going on about the Wild Wild West. I'm not quite sure that I know where that came from, but that's just the way this goes. So we will see you again next Tuesday night. And of course, if you couldn't make the live show, then you're hearing this in the feeds, because we do take the shows, cut them up, and drop them into the Mac Voices feed. So we want everybody to participate one way or another. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.